Hey there, comic book friends. I'm Travis, and it's time for a special. I have been invited to be part of the Hush review that's going on amongst some of us in the community. Scott Raymond Comics asked me to do an issue. Feel very privileged to be part of this event. These are always fun to do. It's always fun to hear kind of everybody's take on what's going on and stuff. And so I'm contributing my part. In my case, I am reviewing Batman issue 618. There's the cover. I actually don't own this in singles. This was put out during a time when finances made it to where I couldn't collect comics, and so I missed this all in singles. It's one of those things I'd like to get at some point, but anyway, would have been really interesting to have read this thing month to month as it was coming out. The cliffhangers would have been pretty significant, I'm sure. In my case, you know, I've read it in trade, a couple different versions of the trade version. This is the latest trade. I actually have the split one too. But at any rate, so yeah, I mean that would have been really cool to have read it then and have a different perspective on it, having read it as singles. There are a few of us that did read it in singles. I think that Comics, he comments a little bit on it, having read singles. If you go back and search through, I believe Sleepy Reader 666, you go back and look through his videos, you will find that he and Sean Reyes did a review of the whole Hush books and whatnot. They talked quite extensively about it, and I know that Sean read them as they were coming out, I believe, in singles, and I think he talks about it a little bit there too. But anyway, so 618, an interesting issue, mostly because, of course, in 617 we're left with this massive cliffhanger of Jason Todd holding Tim Drake at basically knife point, cutting into his throat. Jason Todd has suddenly been resurrected. And anybody who doesn't have the Batman history, of course, Jason Todd was murdered years ago by the Joker, and it traumatized Batman pretty good for a number of years. So this him suddenly being there and being this older man is pretty significant, and it rattles Batman initially, as it's supposed to. A large portion of the comic book is a fight between this Jason Todd and Batman. Most of the dialogue is Jason Todd basically giving Batman grief. You know, how dare you? You didn't love me. Why did you leave me? Why did you let me get killed? Just berating him on that stuff. And most of Batman's internal dialogue is him initially freaking out, him initially going, okay, you know, I've heard from Ra's al Ghul, Lazarus Pit was activated. Is this what happened? You know, normally when people come from a Lazarus Pit, they are insane when they come out of the out of the Lazarus Pit. And ironically, at one point he had thought about putting Jason Todd in the Lazarus Pit until he found out about the madness and that sort of stuff. And when he thought he wasn't going to get Jason Todd back, decided against it. So that's all interesting. He continues to have this chill dialogue as he slowly picks apart the fact that it doesn't make sense that this is Jason Todd. And he finally puts it all together that obviously he doesn't know who this is, but they certainly are Jason Todd. They aren't calling him Bruce. He has the wrong fighting style. He doesn't fight like Jason Todd. And so he's slowly working out that this actually isn't Jason Todd. Meanwhile, there's an interesting conversation between Robin, Tim Drake, and Catwoman. She basically saves Tim Drake, and they have a conversation about she's going to get herself involved in this fight between Jason Todd and Batman. Tim Drake's saying you really shouldn't, and Catwoman is really concerned. You know, look, you know what this guy is like. You know what Batman's like when he's mad, when he's angry, all these things. We really don't want that. We don't want him being this kind of upset. So I'm going to go and help, which to me is really interesting because it just kind of builds into how thick their relationship is getting to be, how much an extra level of care and interest in each other has been building, I think, along the way, her, no, not so much to love him and leave him anymore, that sort of a thing. And so I think that's interesting. Like I said, a large portion of this is of the book is taken up with this fight, and at the end, after Batman has basically beat him down, he dissolves away into clay and whatnot. And that's when they decide that it must have been Clayface that was doing this, and that he was mimicking, because they didn't know Jason Todd. They didn't know that Robin is too long ago. They mimicked Nightwing's moves. That's why he was an acrobatic and fought the way that he did and stuff. Yeah. So after the fight is over with, and Bruce can recomes to terms with the fact that he would never forget Jason Todd, and just how would always know how much he loved him. There's a conversation between Catwoman and Batman, because Catwoman was left in charge of keeping track of Huntress. She didn't do that. Good or bad, now Huntress is loose again, there's more conversation between Catwoman and Batman about how, in fact, she doesn't like to be bossed around and whatnot, and that if you don't just, and she also doesn't like being followed. If you don't trust her, then, and he reaffirms, I do trust you, even though internally he's questioned whether or not Catwoman's on the take somewhere, or whatever this master plan of whoever the enemy is, that somehow she's involved with that. Then we end up at the Watchtower with Oracle, going over some information. They try hunting down, Huntress, and don't seem to be having much luck. But they do talk about this this device that had been planted in the Batcave in Batman's computers, and they work over who could have done it, and they come up with an idea of who it is, and we find out that there was this man that Batman had hired to. Was wonderful with mechanics and electronics and computers and stuff, and he had been working in the cave for a long time. He was a broken man that Batman had paid to get most of him repaired, but could never fix him from being mute. Lo and behold, we find out that whoever is the mastermind behind this whole game of messing with Batman fixed his voice so he can talk. Batman forgives him, goes to get the information from him, and then is right before the guy can tell us what's going on, the guy is shot dead. Another friend of Batman's shot dead by yet another trench coat wearing, bandage wrapped person, who leaves us with the final lines of, what is a friend? A single soul dwelling in two bodies. Something for us to contemplate. Is this another clue? Does this lead us to to who it really is, or something else? A somewhat interesting issue. It had some interesting things in it. The fight is cool. His internalizing the whole idea of this is Jason Todd and whatnot is somewhat interesting. But like I said, not lots, for me anyway, not lots of little things to look at and ponder in this issue, because like I said, most of the issue is a giant fight scene, which is cool to look at and stuff, but doesn't give us lots to analyze. At least for me. Somebody else may get different mileage out of it. Obviously, one of the things I do think is funny is when Batman is meeting with this electronic computer guy that had been working in the cave and stuff. They're on this bridge. Traffic has been rerouted and whatnot, and one of the street signs that's like a highway sign that tells you what's there. The sign is Infantino something and Mazzoletta something else, which of course, right, are two DC creators of the Batman era, I believe. Maybe Infantino didn't do a lot of Batman. I can't remember. I think mostly was Flash, but anyway, I think that's kind of interesting as far as little Easter eggy kind of things that I thought was kind of cool. But yeah, that's the issue. Like I said, it's the big fight. It's the trying to mess with Batman and with the whole Jason Todd thing. one of the other things interesting that he notes is that he believes whoever it is that's ultimately messing with him knows who his secret identity is, but did not give that information to Clayface when Clayface was playing the role of Jason Todd. And that's one of the things that made it easier for Batman to figure it out, was because he knew that Jason Todd would have called him Bruce as opposed to just referring to him as Batman. But yeah, leaves us with yet another cliffhanger, of this bandaged, wrapped person with the guns and the trench coat. And what are we going to find out? What's ultimately going to happen here? Is the game finally over? How many more of Batman's friends are going to be murdered along the way as we go on this journey? Fun issue, really great series, well put together. A lot of other people have already talked about it. And I'm sure we as a group will all talk about it again. But great book. Hope you guys have all been checking out everybody else's videos. I can't remember off the top of my head whose videos after mine. But make sure you get on Running with Comics page and check it out. That'll give you a list of who's next. And yeah, enjoy it, because I sure have been. Have a great one, everybody.